Hi there and welcome to number 1 Geek. It is I, Saz, and we're here with another Project Zomboid Basics. This time we're going to be doing multiplayer because that was what's been asked for. So I'll go for a few tips and tricks here and hopefully it will help you on your way. Don't forget, as always, take this with a pinch of salt. However you want to play the game is up to you, but these is how I would do things. Now, as you'll notice, there's two new buttons. There's join and host here. These are the two buttons that we're doing for multiplayer. We will look at the co-op section first, which is done through Steam. So we will select the host button first. So all we have to do is just make sure that we start a new server. Then we give it a name, as you would, as it will put in all the files needed for keeping that game up and running. And then once you've done that, all you have to do then is get yourself into the server options. Now, I'm not going to go too well into these server options, but if you've done the sandbox before, a lot of these options are going to look quite familiar. Best thing to do is leave it as it is for the moment if you're not 100% sure, and maybe tweak once you start working out how different bits and pieces work, or experiment with it over time. There's really no point you rushing into these things. Now, how do people join your little server once you've got it started? All they have to do is join you through the Steam client. So you must have anybody who wants to join your server must be friends on Steam. That's a very important point. Now, clicking the join button, you'll be presented with this screen. Now, sometimes you'll see that there is completely blank because you haven't got any favourites so far. But the tab at the top there, you can actually search the internet to find open servers that you can join. Or you can also pop something into the favourites bar from the instructions and IP and password and stuff that people get. As you can see here, I've got a couple of servers here that I have already joined, including Drunk Server, which is an open server for people who like to follow his channel. So all you have to do is just pop the IP address in there, the port number, the server password if there is one, and of course your username and your own password. Now, this is your own identifier. It is not something that you have to put on to allow yourself onto it. It's the one so the server recognizes that you are really you next time you log on. So it's important to make sure that you have a consistent username and password to pop onto each server so you don't have to change each time. And finally, as this is just a basic primer, I'm not going to go too much into the details of creating your own server. That's something that you might want to find on the Indie Stone websites, so good luck with that one. Now, if you're a creature of habit like me, then you like your particular types of disadvantages, and mine is Sleepyhead. However, most servers don't actually use sleep as a mechanic because it's going to make the gameplay boring, so it's out of the game as soon as it gets set up. There are some other disadvantages as well that you might find are going to be difficult due to multiplayer settings, but I'll go into that at a later date. Now, in single player, when you spawn into an area, you generally tend to get a clear area around the place where you spawn to allow you to at least start off with a reasonable amount of safety before you go into playing the game. In multiplayer, you get none of that, and we have had reports of people spawning straight into a room full of zombies and they die literally as soon as they spawn. So just be aware of the fact that sometimes the server will be very unfair to you. Now, depending on your playstyle, you may want to be into PvP, you may be not, but the one thing you do need to be one hell of sure of is the people who have that little skull by the side of them. Now, I'll show you the button how to get yourself into that mode, but you see either one of those people and you're not into PvP, run away, because I believe they can still kill you whether you like it or not. Another difference that has been put in generally because of server issues is the speed of the vehicles. You'll find that the cars are a little bit slower than you would in single player. That's simply because the server needs to find a way to cope with the differences in movement. So don't forget, you're going to be a little bit slower. And of course, there is also the ability to create safe houses and also allow people to join and add and become part of your safe houses. There's also factions as well, which allows you to have other people join you and kind of conglomerate all your work together. So the best thing about safe houses is you also have the option to spawn from your safe house, which means that if you die, you can come back and have at least a good safe spot for you to start again. And of course, one of the major differences is item respawning. Sometimes it doesn't happen in single player, but there's also zombie respawning, which sometimes does happen in single player depending on your play style. So just remember, things respawn, so you don't have to worry too much about getting stuck with nothing out there. Now we'll go on to the bit that I think is the coolest addition, is the map feature, pressing either the M button or the little map icon at the time. As you can see, this is the whole map is able to be seen, and all the places that you've been are currently shown, which is not a lot here. You can switch on the different bits by pressing different buttons, including going from isometric to pull on map. But the coolest feature of all of this is if you have any of the maps that you pick up, which has brought these into more of a function, I would think. So if you actually bring up the West Point map now and then close it down, and after you've done that, all you have to do is bring up the map once again by pressing M in this case. You will see that the whole map is now available on the map itself. So you kind of know where it is, but obviously it's slightly greyed out because you are not quite in, or you've not seen the whole area. Of course, you do that with all the different maps, Riverside and all the others too, and you will find at the end of it, you will have a large map full of areas that you know, which will come up very shortly once I've got Muldrow sorted here. Just get Muldrow up. Come on, Muldrow. There we are. Read the map. Yeah, once Muldrow is up, and we go into the map again, and all the different towns are on the map, so it gives you an idea of which direction you need to head to get to them. Of course, there is one place that is missing from here, and we'll get onto that very shortly. And perhaps maybe the most controversial change that has been made to this is the new foraging system. Beforehand, you used to walk around and press a button and you just forage for ages and get exhausted. Now you are actively looking for the items using a search system, which you'll see comes up with a little eye, and then it just generally tends to point you towards the direction of the item that you spotted. Obviously, the better you are at it, the better things happen. We have had people who have been doing foraging for a bit on the servers, finding things like screwdrivers, electrical parts and other interesting items up there, because this happens also not just in the woods but also in town as well, so you can actually search all over the place. And of course, the most stark change is obviously the changes to the map. There's been some curvature in the roads, some of the general places around Riverside and other towns have been changed, and additions have been made and new signs have been put up, so things look a little bit more variant to what was originally done. And of course, there's Louisville, which is an absolutely humongous city that's up north from West Point, which is going to be something that you're going to be looking around for a very long time. It's good, exciting stuff, and of course, it means that people want to play even more. Now, obviously, the main difference of multiplayer is, of course, you're not playing alone anymore, and you are going to have to counter the urge to play the game single player. What you'll find is that if you start acting like you do in single player, you sometimes will be cutting your nose off to spite your face. Let me go through a few of these ideas just to let you understand what I mean. Now, in single player it was easy. If it wasn't nailed down, stick it in the bag, take it back home, it might be useful later. However, in multiplayer, that's not going to be the case, because obviously, even though things do respawn, there's only a finite amount of resources. And of course, more than one person wants to do those resources. And if you take all those resources for yourself, that means that you are stopping other people from helping themselves. You may not be bothered with that, but you might be if you die and you find yourself having to go back, because there is one little thing, that there is no spawn point in Louisville. If you want to go to Louisville and you die and you've taken all the stuff, once you go back to your respawn start, you've got nothing. So you're really hurting yourself by doing this hoarding sort of situation. So only take what you need. Only make sure that you have all the essentials for the journey that you want to make, or for the task that you want to do. If you start taking too much stuff, you risk sorting yourself a serious problem when you die. And of course, as we know, you will die. Once again, in single player, you didn't have to talk to anybody, you didn't have to do anything, and you just did what you wanted to. However, when there's more than one person there, you do have to take other people into account. And of course, you have admins and other moderators on the server that make sure that people do go towards the rules and the etiquette of the server. So make sure that you know what the rules and the etiquette are. Speak to people, talk to them. If they've got a voice channel, pop on there. Obviously, VoIP hasn't come out yet. But if you have some way of communicating with people, even if it's just a chat bar, make sure you do, find out what the rules are and live by them. It's better to be with everybody than against them. The worst thing you want to do is be chastised by a whole group, or at worst, get yourself banned. If you want to head to Louisville, the best place to spawn is definitely West Point. It's the closest place there, but there is a bit of a journey, and it's going to be hard. Of course, the journey is going to be arduous whatever you do. All I would say to you is do not try to rush yourself anywhere within the multiplayer server. I understand that a lot of people who know how to play the game and get to all the places with all the good stuff, but respawn is usually on, so you don't have to get yourself there because there's always stuff at some point in the future. What you should do is make sure that you have got yourself set up and ready to go. If you can get yourself a car, even better. Of course, my biggest tip is use the burglar skill if you are new to the server, because it will help you hotwire cars and find a quicker way to get to places like Louisville so you can search the place out. Louisville is the big thing. If you're not that bothered, carry on doing your own thing. But if you do want to get there, a car is usually quite essential. So therefore, burglar skill is quite good. And then look into making other different proficiencies a bit later. And speaking of proficiencies and jobs, once you've got yourself a nice faction, sometimes it's best for you to talk with amongst yourselves and find out who's going to be the mechanic, who's going to be the cook, who's going to be the defender, who's going to be the doctor. People like that, because if everyone has a certain role to play, everyone finds it a little bit more fun, we've found. So if you have someone who's an expert at one particular thing, then that's the person you go to, and that makes themselves feel important, and whatever job you do will hopefully make you feel important. So that's one good thing about how factions can work. Use your safe houses wisely. Make sure that you have it checked that you respawn at your safe house, so once you've got to the place that you want to be, you will be able to respawn there each time. However, we do believe there's a little bit of a bug in the system at the moment, which means that every time you start with a new character, you'll need to check that box each time, because if not, you'll find yourself spawning at another point away from the where your safe house is, and that ain't good, especially if you have no equipment and you've been hoarding. And finally, probably the most important part, find a server that you enjoy. If you enjoy the people on that server and if you're having fun, then that's the server for you. If you're not having fun, if you feel like you're being victimized, if you feel like things aren't going your way, as you do in Project Zomboid, because things never go your way in Project Zomboid, but I think you know what I mean. Just make sure, just try different servers, try different streamers doing their different servers and stuff like that, and everything should be perfectly fine once you've found what you're looking for. This is brand new, and you're not going to get it 100% right straight away. But be patient and see if you can find the place that you want to be. As soon as you find it, it's going to be heaven for you. And you'll enjoy it. And there you have it, folks. Those are my tips and tricks and discussions about multiplayer. I hope you found that helpful, and I hope there's something that's been there for you that's giving you a that's brilliant moment. All I want to say is just thank you very much for watching. If you like what you like, press the like button. If you dislike what you dislike, press the dislike button. But please pop something down in the comment section to let me know how I can improve my content for you. If you like what you see, want to press that subscribe button. And if you super duper like it, want to press that bell icon so you get updated every time I upload new content to YouTube. It's just a click for you guys, but it's massive for me in the old YouTube algorithm. But I ain't going to beg. If you want to, if you don't, if not, that's absolutely no problem whatsoever. Right, well, hopefully I will get back onto doing some more of these tips next year. We will hopefully start off with looking through the skills and stuff like that, and hopefully this channel will be able to give you all the stuff that you need. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you had a good Christmas, and I hope you have a great New Year, and I'll see you soon. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.